Assalamualaikum. Testing. Boleh dengar suara saya tak? Can you hear my voice? Kalau boleh dengar, tolong let me know. Tolong bagi tahu yang suara saya you boleh dengar. Okay, thank you. So now we will continue with our discussion on the public the process of listing the company in the Bourse, menyenaraikan saham-saham di bursa. Okay, the process of people use several terms to describe the process of listing the shares of the company into the Bursa or stock exchange. Okay, sometimes people call it getting listed, disenaraikan in Malay. Sometimes people use the word share flotation, or in English or in Malay, pengapungan saham. Sometimes people use the word IPO, initial public offer. So all these things mean the same thing. So you change your company status from either from sole proprietorship or partnership to become a listed company. Okay, a public listed company. Okay, yesterday I have mentioned about what are the steps to be taken before you can get your company listed. Yeah, so what are the steps? So probably the sequence is a bit different from what I wrote yesterday, but more or less it's the same processes. Yeah, first is you change the company, change to public listed company. Okay. Later on I will explain to you what is meant by changing the company to a public listed, and then ask for approval from SC or Suruhanjaya Securities Commission. Yeah, you ask for approval from the Securities Commission. Then you appoint underwriter. Then you issue prospectus. Okay, and then listing processes. Including balloting and so on. Okay, yesterday we stopped about at this point. Yesterday I wrote as how do you change the status of the company from a partnership or from a sole proprietorship to be a public listed company. Of course, you need to change the memorandum and articles of association. Yeah, memorandum dan artikel penubuhan syarikat in Malay. Memorandum and articles of association, as I mentioned yesterday, it is the constitution of the company, perlembagaan syarikat. So you cannot simply use the what do you call it? Use the liquid just to erase the word Sendirian Berhad to Berhad. There are certain steps or processes that you have to follow to change the status of the company from Sendirian Berhad to Berhad. I forgot to mention that Sendirian Berhad, like what I mentioned yesterday, is a private limited company, usually owned by family members, and the number of shareholders are limited to 50. So usually, public limited companies, a public limited company is an upgraded company from the private limited. It's not that a company can go straight away from sole proprietorship to public limited company. So usually, the public limited company is originates from a private limited company. So from Sendirian Berhad, it becomes Berhad. All the 1,000 over companies being listed in Bursa Malaysia, Bursa Malaysia are public listed companies. Okay, so you change the memorandum and articles of association from Sendirian Berhad to Berhad. And then the second step is you have to ask for approval from the Securities Commission. What is a Securities Commission, or Suruhanjaya? Suruhanjaya Security. In Malay, Suruhanjaya Security. Suruhanjaya Security, or a Securities Commission, is just it's a body formed by the government to monitor the investment activities in Malaysia. Just like a policeman. Everybody knows what is the function of police force. The police force function is to enforce the laws of the country, right? So if you break the law, the policeman will catch you, will arrest you, and then you will be brought to court. You will be brought to court to face a trial. So that is the function of a policeman. But there's another type of crimes which we usually call a white collar crimes, related with the transaction of stocks in the stock market, the manipulation of stocks in the stock market, the issuance of license for those who are giving advice. Right now, so many people are making career out of giving financial advice to the public. You cannot simply give advice to the public without license. So you are in violation of laws. Of course, there are laws that regulate who can give advice, who cannot. So if you give wrong advice, if you give advice, even though you are not qualified to do so, so you are breaking the laws, and the Securities Commission is the party responsible to enforce the law. Okay, so in order for you to get the company listed, you have to apply to the Securities Commission, and of course you have to attach the documents needed for the listing process. Of course, we are not going into details. What are the documents and what are the requirements to get your companies listed. If you are interested to know all these things, you can go to Bursa Malaysia website, and Securities Commission website. You simply Google Suruhanjaya Security Malaysia, and you can get it, the link to Securities Commission. And Securities Commission also regulate things like get rich quick system, scheme cepat kaya. So now there are so many get rich quick system or scheme cepat kaya which are hiding behind futures trading, behind the gold trading, and many of these companies are unlicensed. So Securities Commission have to enforce the law, and if you get caught, you will be fined a very big fine. Okay, so let's say, to cut things short, you have already get the approval from the Securities Commission. Okay, the next step is to appoint an underwriter. What is an underwriter? In Bahasa Melayu, In Malay, underwriter is penaja jaminan. Underwriter is usually an investment bank, pelaburan, investment bank. Actually in banking business there are two types of banks, which is commercial bank, bank perdagangan, and investment bank, bank pelaburan. The bank that you put your money into the savings account, current account, or if you ask for housing loan, personal loan, that is a commercial bank, and that is commercial bank, CIMB, Bank Islam, and so on. Okay, but investment bank or bank pelaburan is another type of banks that is actually they don't let you open a current account or savings account, or they don't give personal loans or car loans or housing loans. They are involved in the so-called wholesale banking. Commercial banks involved in retail banking. Retail banking. I don't have space to write here. Retail banking in Bahasa Melayu is perbankan runcit. You want to open up a savings account, so you have to put 100 ringgit deposit, right? So that is retail, runcit. But investment banks, they don't deal with this kind of thing. They deal with things like, let's say for example, a company got a 3.1 billion project to build a highway. Let's say for example from Kota Baru to Johor Bahru. Let's say for example, and the project is 3.1 billion. So investment banks will be approached to give financing. So that is wholesale banking, or in Bahasa Melayu perbankan pukal, borong lah, macam wholesale is borong kan, pembankan pukal, wholesale banking. And investment bankers also give advice on the listing process of the companies, the asset management. So these are the things that usually involve investment bankers. Of course, usually in Malaysia, let's say for example CIMB have CIMB retail and CIMB investment. How do you know that CIMB investment? Usually they have the word investment, CIMB investment, or Bank Islam investment, or Maybank investment. That is investment bank. Okay, so what is the function of an underwriter? Okay, underwriter is the person, or is the person that will help the company in undergoing the listing process. Of course, the listing process involves a lot of things that have to be taken into consideration. For example, the subscription price, harga langganan. At what price you want to sell the share to the public. Do keep in mind, every company that issues shares naturally want to get their shares fully subscribed, habis di langgan. Of course, when you did your diploma, you studied that once the shares have been fully subscribed, telah dilanggan sepenuhnya, then the company that issue the shares will get the capital needed for the expansion of the company. Okay, what happens if the shares are undersubscribed? Tak habis langgan. Let's say you issue 100 million units of shares, and only out of 100 million units of common shares, only 60 million are subscribed, and another 40 million are not subscribed. So in this case, if this thing happen, the company will not get the desired capital needed. So there are a lot of things that the underwriter has to give advice to the company issuing the shares, or to get the company company listed. Of course, if you put the shares too high, if the price of the shares is too high, subscription price, harga langganan, then not many people are interested to buy the shares, and the shares will be undersubscribed. On the other hand, if you want to to get the shares fully subscribed, you put the price too low. Of course, people will be buying the shares, but what happens is you don't realize the full potential of the company's shares. So you have to sell a lot of shares to raise the desired amount of capital. So there is a trade-off between these two, and of course, the right person to advise the company is the investment bank. Underwriter, Okay, underwriter. Okay, I give you just a brief overview. Sometimes in the exam, they ask you to explain what is an underwriter. So you have to know a little bit about underwriter. The process of issuing the shares for the first time is called underwriting. Okay, next is prospectus. Okay, issuing prospectus. What is a prospectus? Okay, prospectus is an advertisement about the company. Yeah, prospectus is about the advertisement about the company. Let's say, for example, you want to buy a car, a brand new car. So you go to the showroom. You go to the showroom, and the salesperson will approach you and will hand you brochures, the brochures of the car. So very beautiful brochures and some of the technical specifications of the car. And then sometimes they will allow you to test drive the car, to drive around, so that the buyer or the potential buyer has a feel of how to drive, how it feels to drive this car, the car that he is about to buy. Okay, or if you want to buy something tangible, sesuatu yang jelas kelihatan kan, tangible, TV sets or refrigerator, you can look at the TV sets. You can try to switch it on, switch it off. If you want to buy a refrigerator or freezer, you can open the door of the freezer and feel how cold it is and so on. But what about the process of buying a share? A share is something abstract, something intangible, tak nampak pun saham tu. During the time that I was playing in the stock market, that was about almost 30 years ago, whenever you buy a stocks, you get a certificate, just like your SPM certificate, sijil SPM awak tu kan, kertas. So you have a SPM, you have a share certificate. Over the years, now if you buy shares in the stock market, whether you buy it through the new issue or through the Bursa Malaysia, you won't get any share certificate. All you will see is the shares. The shares is credited into your CDS, Central Depository System. Okay, if you do not know what is CDS, so there is another subplot lah. CDS is when you want to play in the stock market, you have to open an account. You go to any brokerage firm in Kota Baru pun, there are some brokerage firms there, and then you ask to open an account, and you have to open an account, CDS account they call it. So whenever you buy stocks in the stock market, when you have paid for the stocks, your CDS account will be credited. Okay, you don't see the share certificate. So buying shares is different than buying a car or a refrigerator or a house. Even a house you can get, you can go to show house, right? So developers usually they provide one show house so that you can see the finishing and so on. Okay, so how do you decide whether you want to buy the share or not? Since you cannot touch the share, you cannot see the shares, you cannot see the stocks. So you have to rely on the advertisement. That advertisement is prospectus. Okay, they call it prospectus. Usually, in 20 or 30 years ago, they print this prospectus and they provide it as an attachment in the newspapers. Usually whenever the company is about to issue new shares, they will provide prospectus, and prospectus will be put together in the daily newspapers. So sometimes when you buy a newspaper, during the old days, we buy newspapers on the newsstand, kat gerai jual surat khabar kan. Nowadays very seldom people buy newspapers through the newsstand. Usually now people subscribe to online newspapers. Like myself, I subscribe to four online newspapers. So I read 4 dailies, 4 newspaper dailies: The Star, Utusan Malaysia, Cosmo, and Sinar Harian. So sometimes tak baca pun because we have so many other things to do kan. Tapi we subscribe to digital newspaper. So now the advantage is cheaper, and then you don't have a stack of newspapers in your house. In your house becomes garbage kan. Tinggi tu banyak sampah aja. So now it's more environment friendly. It's cheaper, more environment friendly, and you don't have to deal with the newspaper waste. Kertas-kertas surat khabar lama kan. Okay. So now I do not know how they supply the prospectus, probably through online. That I do not know. But by looking at the prospectus, you can see what is the nature of the company, the shares that you are about to buy. Of course, naturally you have to know what the company is all about, what business are they in, who are the board of directors of the company, the history of the company, the profit, the track record, the financial track record of the company for the past, let's say for the past 5 years. You want to see whether the company is making profit or not. What are the products of the company? If the company has factories, for example, here in Malaysia or overseas, so it's all stated in the prospectus. All stated. So you as an investor, you flip through the prospectus, or you read through the prospectus nowadays online, and you decide whether the subscription price or harga langganan being offered to you is reasonable with the company's products and business. So that is a prospectus. And one thing is very important is the company that wants to issue shares, they will print prospectus, or they will provide prospectus, and they cannot lie. They cannot lie. If they provide prospectus with a lot of inaccurate information with the purpose of attracting people to buy shares, then they can be penalized. The Securities Commission will monitor this thing. So if the Securities Commission find out that the company is lying by providing false information in the prospectus, and then the company can be penalized. So that's how the Securities Commission regulates the securities industries. Okay. And okay, let me stop for a while, see if you have any question. Do you have any question? You can type now. I can respond to your question. No question? Okay, if you do not have any question, let me continue. Don't have any question, yeah? Okay, if you do not have any question, let me continue. The listing process. Okay, I do not intend to go into details, the listing process, because it is going to be very, very time consuming and seldom asked in the exam. Yeah. What I am trying to do now is to explain to you the difference between the primary market and the secondary market. Okay, the primary market and versus secondary market. Okay, before we go into the primary market and secondary market of the stock market, let me give you an analogy. Let me give you an analogy. Let's say, for example, you want to buy fish. Nak beli ikan, you want to buy fish. Okay. Let me rephrase my sentence. You want to get fish. Bukan nak beli, nak dapat ikan. Okay, I rephrase my sentence. You want to get fish. You want to get some fish. Okay. You have two ways of getting the fish. First is you go fishing. You go fishing, pergi mancing. Or you go to the, you follow the fisherman and go fishing. Okay, and then you get some fish and you bring back home, ask your wife or ask your husband to cook for you. Why ask your husband? Because it's, sometimes husband cook. Like myself, I cook. My wife only cooks during weekend. During weekdays, I cook. Why? Because she works late. She usually come back around 7:30. So if she reach home at 7:30 and if she wants to cook, probably by 9, there's no guarantee that we will have our dinner. So what we usually do is either I cook early in the afternoon, in the evening, around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the evening, and then by after Maghrib, we can have our dinner. If I feel lazy, I don't want to cook, we usually order some food from outside. Okay, that's okay. Dipendekkan cerita, so there is two ways of getting the fish. One is to go fishing. Okay, that is one way. The other way is that you go to the market. When you go to the market, you buy some fish from the fishmonger. Fishmonger ni penjual ikan. You buy some fish, so you don't have to go to deep sea or you go to the river to go fishing or to catch the fish from the river or the sea. So you go to the market. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that if you get fish from the ocean or from the sea or from the rivers by yourself, so you are getting the fish from its main source or primary source, sumber utama, sumber primer dipanggil, sumber utama. Alternatively, if you don't feel like going fishing, you want to take the easy way, is you go buy some fish from the market. So if you go buy some fish from the market, so you are buying in the secondary market. In the secondary market. Okay. So hopefully by now you have some idea what is a primary market and secondary market with regards to fish, ikan. Now we transfer the same concept to the stocks or shares. Okay. First, when the company wants to get the shares listed, as I mentioned, they have to do all the processes. Okay. And let's say, for example, the company wants to issue shares. Of course, they will make an announcement after getting the, I have erased this, after getting the approval from SC, after appointing underwriters, after issuing prospectus, they have announced that they are selling several million units of shares to the people, and people want to buy, or people or investors want to subscribe. We call it subscribe, langgan, melanggan to the newly issued shares. So they have to buy from the issuing house, dia panggil. Issuing house, rumah penerbitan. In Malaysia you call it issuing house is rumah penerbitan in Bahasa Melayu. Okay, you cannot get the stocks from Bursa Malaysia yet. Yeah? So you have to apply. There are processes involved to get the shares from the issuing house. Let's say, for example, there are 100 million units of shares being offered. But there are more people who want to subscribe to the new shares. 100 million shares being offered, but there are more than 100 million shares that people want to buy. People want to buy. Maknanya sini saham yang ditawarkan 100 juta, tetapi yang nak beli itu lebih daripada 100 juta yang nak beli, ya. Okay, bahasa Melayu senang, nak beli adalah lebih. So some people might be disappointed lah. Some people might not be able to get the shares because more buyers than sellers, right? More products. I mean, more people who are interested to buy the shares than the shares being offered. If this thing happen, there will be a balloting, dia panggil pengundian. So yang ni detail, I do not know how they do it now, but during the old days, masa zaman dulu 20 tahun 30 tahun lepas, they do it physically. They just like cabut undi, kita ambil apa, main kutu kan, cabut undi. So those who are lucky can get the shares. Okay, those who are not so lucky, they don't get the shares, the payment will be returned back to them. Yeah, so itu ringkasnya begitulah. But kita once if you want to apply for the new shares, you have to provide a bank draft, to the issuing house. Let's say 10,000 ringgit untuk berapa jumlah saham kan. So you have to provide bank draft, and then if your application is successful, your bank draft will be cashed by the company, and then you get the shares credited into your CDS account. If you fail to get the shares, your bank draft will be returned back to you, and then you can cash back the bank draft, get your money back. Okay, that's how the system works. Okay, let's say for example, okay, after getting some people who are likely to get the new shares from the primary market, from the issuing house, and then they who fail to get the shares through the primary market, they have to wait until the shares being listed in Bursa Malaysia. So, if the shares is listed in the Bursa Malaysia, in the Bourse, in the Bursa Saham Kuala Lumpur, it used to be called Bursa Saham Kuala Lumpur, now they call it Bursa Malaysia or Malaysian Bourse, then you can buy the shares from the stock market. So, the price of shares in the stock market might differ with the subscription price during the primary market. Let's say if more people want to buy the shares, it will push up the price of the shares, but if more people want to sell the shares, it will push down the price of the share. So the pricing of the shares in Bursa Malaysia is determined by supply and demand. The pricing of shares in the primary market, or we call it subscription price, is determined by the company as advised by the underwriter. Remember underwriter? I have erased it, underwriter. So that's more or less how the system works. So during 20 or 30 years ago, when I was playing in the stock market, usually the company purposely priced their shares very low so that more people want to subscribe to the shares, and of course most of the time the shares are oversubscribed. Oversubscribed means that more people want to buy rather than as compared to the number of shares being offered in the market. So if this thing happen, not many people can get the shares being offered, and they will eagerly wait for the shares to be listed. So if you are lucky, you get the shares. If you get the shares in the primary market at the subscription price, and then you wait for the shares to be listed, usually 2 or 3 weeks after that, then your shares price will shoot up, akan naik mendadak, then you can make money. You sell the shares, then you can get some tidy profits there. So that's what people did 20-30 years ago. People play in the stock market by playing in a new issue. Okay, do you have any question? Okay, if you do not have any question, I think I will stop here. So now today is a very short lecture, 40 minutes, less than 40 minutes of lecture. By the way, has anyone tried to retrieve the question paper from your future? I mean, not the question paper, the answer scheme. Do you have any problem retrieving the answer scheme from your future? Has anybody tried to retrieve, dapatkan soalan-soalan past semester? Do you know how to do it? If ada masalah tak? Do you have any question getting the past semester's answer schemes that I have uploaded in the future? Tak ada orang cuba. No problem No problem maksudnya dah dapat, boleh je. Okey, tak ada masalah. Okey, tak ada masalah. Tak ada masalah ni dulu masalah dieja sebagai zaman-zaman during my time lah. Masalah with double A, masalah. But with the introduction of new system of new spelling system in 1972-73, they want to shorten the word, so masalah become masalah. So sometimes it can be confusing. Let's say for example, you WhatsApp your boyfriend or your girlfriend, jom tengok wayang. So she answers, tiada masalah. So you feel so happy because you think that no problem. She answers no problem. But in actual, she answers no time, tiada masalah. Jadi tiada masalah ataupun tiada masalah will bring two different results, right? Jadi okey lah, dah ramai dah yang dah dapat soalan-soalan tu. Okey, bagus. Dan of course you have to download your question papers lah. I mean past semester questions through what do you call it? Through library lah, through the library. Okay, so I'll see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow will be our final lecture for the week, because on Thursday we do not have any class, right? Oh, by the way, tomorrow I have what time is our class tomorrow? Tomorrow I have an appointment in Hospital University. Let me look at our class schedule. If there is a change of time, I will let you know in the group, in the WhatsApp group. Okay, until I'll see you again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.